Speaking of vendors, vendors and trends, do you think that any of the vendors will go out of business? And, I'd imagine that, hey, you're planning your wedding for 2021. We're talking about maybe 2022 before we have larger weddings. Do you foresee some vendors maybe struggling to stay in business?
I do, and I'd have to say that the vendors I feel like I would worry about the most wouldn't be the vendors that sell time. You know what I mean? So like vendors that sell time somehow can figure out how to maneuver, I feel like in times like these. It's the ones that have 35,000 square foot warehouses and $1 million worth of inventory
Overhead.
and yeah, and like 22 employees and things like that. Those are the ones I could see having a hard time like pushing through.
Hmm.
I think that you're probably seeing like companies like Hertz, go bankrupt and restaurants closing and things like that. And I honestly feel like those companies were already kind of going down before all this happened. And then, you know, they were just like, you know what, it's time to hang it up. Um, I have told my clients that, if they are thinking about postponing their wedding, I'm trying to get them to hold off to like the very last second to pay, their payments. Cause I have some clients that just want to pay. And I'm like, okay, well just hold on a second because, I had that one scenario with the DJ. So what if we pay this in full and then you move your wedding to next year and
Hmm.
then they're not available? Like
Hmm.
then, that like they're not giving your money back. So let's, hold off till the last second. Um, but I do think we probably will see, because this is way worse than the '07, '08, '09 thing. I didn't, were you in doing videography back then?
I was not yet
Were you
doing
in
videography. I started it in 2010.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
in the Caribbean, yeah, in St.
Yeah,
Thomas. Yeah.
that's right. So I didn't feel anything during that time.
Hmm.
Like it was just like business as usual, like nothing, people freaked out during that whole financial crisis thing. So, we'll see what happens. I think everybody's in a different situation. I have been on a lot of forums for financial literacy for women business owners because,
Hmm.
creative people don't necessarily know that kind of stuff.
Do you mind
And
sharing some of those websites, or maybe we
Oh,
could put them
sure.
in the
So there's
ship?
a
Yeah.
Facebook group, and there's a girl that runs it who is just like unbelievable. And it's funny, it's called, so I'm in one group that's for wedding planners only, and
Okay.
it's amazing. It's called the Refine Community for Wedding Planners, and
Okay.
everybody goes on and kind of talks back and forth and helps each other out. Like, oh my gosh, this happened, And so I've,
Mhm.
got onto that. There's another group called Financial Literacy for Women Business Owners, but it's hilarious because men are in it. I think they
I
they
mean,
like
it's
I'm like,
relevant. I'm sure
Robert,
there's.
this is for women. What are you doing here? But anyway, so she's been amazingly helpful with navigating EIDL and PPP and unemployment and
It's been
help.
so confusing
Yeah,
for
and I
business
think
owners.
I think a lot of people have gotten bad advice. I have, friends who are also vendors that I use who said, "Oh, our accountant told us we couldn't get, the PPP and the EIDL." It's like, no, that is not true. Yes, you can. And so I think that are talking to other people and getting a lot of misinformation. And unfortunately, some of them have like missed the boat on stuff. And,
Hmm. Hmm.
when this started, like back in March, I was like on everything I could, I was very proactive.
Yeah, it's almost like at that time, you almost had to treat it like a part-time job because no,
Yeah.
I mean, there was so much conflicting information for business owners.
For sure. So I'm hoping that, I mean, I've been in this market for 17 years. I'm hoping that all the people that I've been working with all this time, pull through. Um, I just think it's some of those, that have those big warehouses and tons of inventory and employees that
Hmm.
it's going to be tough,
Hmm.
without figuring out a way to either get bailed out or, start booking a ton of business. Um, I have a question for you. Have you seen a trend at all with vendors discounting themselves? because they're worried. So they're trying to book weddings, and so they're, you know.
Well, I don't have a ton of interaction with other, with other vendors, with other videographers per se. I would say that we are not doing that for some of the same reasons that you're talking about. It's like we're providing the product, we're providing what we think is the value, and that does not change in this environment. What we are doing is preparing in the case that we do see an extended period of smaller weddings. So we are creating, what I'm called micro wedding packages. Yeah.